The time has come.
I like that.
The time is now for Victoria Stillwell's Positively Podcast. She's a world-renowned dog trainer.
Seen enough dogs today, have you?
She's the host of It's Me or the Dog.
I'm coming to train you.
Along with co-host Holly Ferfer.
You don't play around with that name, do you?
I am a fan of sweaty balls.
She's Victoria Stillwell, and she's ready to go.
This is a lovely way to start the day.
You get the busy bee. I need to trim her whiskers.
I see some poo here.
I feel a little bit better now because I'm the only one who usually feels stupid during the podcast.
Now, let's head to the studio and get this Positively Podcast started.
Hi everybody, I hope you're well, and I'm so excited because Holly is back.
I'm back.
She's here. I'm so glad you're here. Where have you been?
At home. I really haven't been anywhere. I've been quarantining and sheltering in place. Quarantining sounds like I'm martinying, but it's not as fun.
It's not as sexy. It's not as good. Tell me, you have been busy though. You have,
Yes.
because you work for CNN. Tell us a little bit about where CNN is right now, where you are right now, I mean, with everything that's been happening in the last week. And we are going to talk a little bit about this before we talk about the experience that you've had with both of your dogs and their illnesses that you have, they've been diagnosed, both were diagnosed with cancer, and the way that you have been dealing with that. And we've got to talk about Kashmir first, and then we'll talk about Barnsley, Kashmir being the miracle dog.
Right.
But also, if we can begin with talking about what's been happening at CNN.
Oh, it's been crazy. Yeah, well, first of all, this whole quarantine, we left the offices like on March 13th is the last time. So we've all mostly been working from home. There are people in the building, people who are like, in the control rooms, master control, people who have to be there to run equipment. But everybody who can work from home is working from home. So I've been doing live shots from my guest bedroom. And I've been doing a lot of stuff at home, packages and stuff that I could do at home. I do mostly travel news. So I've been doing a lot, though, with coronavirus first. When is it safe to travel? What the future of flying? What will restaurants look like in the future? Where will people go this summer when states open up? When, pool, safety, things like that. So that's been really interesting and challenging. But I'm not going to lie. I like not wearing pants. So, I'm wearing shorts. I shouldn't say I'm not wearing pants, but, I'm getting to wear sweatpants. I look nice on the top. I've got a nice blazer on or a blouse. I put makeup on, but let me tell you, I'm not wearing shoes either. So that's been great. So been doing that pretty much and keeping myself busy that way. And I've been doing a lot of walking because I'm trying to walk off my coronavirus snacks. I have a drawer. It was full. I keep filling up. You know what I mean, right?
Hard. It's really hard not to, when you're at home all the time and you go into that fridge and there's just all of the bad stuff there as well as the good stuff. You shouldn't buy the bad stuff. But
it keeps appearing.
The bad stuff.
The bad stuff keeps appearing. But yeah, and what doesn't help is that my husband's office is really in our guest room, and so I made my office in the kitchen, which was probably a misstep to begin with, but anyway. So it's been great. Yeah, and I've been doing puzzles like they're my job too, so that's been good though, and preventing Alzheimer's, I say. And then recently, if it wasn't a difficult year already, what a painful week, couple weeks we've had. It's just it's just unfathomable that we're going through this again. And it's so, it's frustrating. It's frustrating for everybody, and it's sad, and it's difficult. And I get angry. I get sad about it. When they rioted in Atlanta downtown, they defaced CNN Center. And, for me personally, I've worked there for 30 years. This is my 31st year there. And to see that, first I was angry. And then I got sad because that's my life, and I understand, and I empathize and I sympathize. I think protesting, there's validity in that. Absolutely. I think there are some people who are bad actors, and that's unfortunate. Where you cross the line, when is the line crossed? Where is the line? That there's a lot of questions out there, but I understand. It's just very painful. And I feel it for people, businesses are being destroyed, especially in this, this economy right now where people's lives are being destroyed with, unemployment or barely making it, restaurants that are doing everything they can to do takeout and delivery and things like that, and then to have their businesses, just destroyed in an economy that's going to be very difficult to recover. It's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. And, to talk about the core of it, and, there is injustice in this world. Unfortunately, there is a lot of racism in this country, and it's just wrong. And, I'm hoping that finally people in Washington will hear, and people around the country will speak, and not only speak their voices, but speak their voices with their votes, because I think things have to change. They must change. For not only for the good of everybody, but it's imperative for us to change. We can't keep going on like this for good reasons.
This has been, the last week or so it's been outrage. It's outrage mixed with sorrow. And living in Atlanta, living in the city of Atlanta, like I do, for the first time, the last 2 nights we've been living in lockdown. And we're not talking about lockdown as in you can't go out because of the virus. We're actually cannot go out curfew. After 9 o'clock in the evening, you can't go out in the city of Atlanta because of what's been happening. The strangest feeling. I was on my bike yesterday, late last night, or I should say sort of early night, late evening. And it was 8:55. I was probably 10 minutes from home. I got scared. I was like, I have to cycle very fast to get home. And that's so odd to have curfew in this city, in this great, great city, and to have protesters. Everybody has the right to protest. But the violence itself is horrific, especially when it is destroying businesses that people have worked so hard to build, and destroying organizations that work so hard to tell people's stories. And so it's a very odd time. But I have to tell you that today I voted. Today I early voted, and there's some real empowerment in that. Mm-hmm. Going to the voters booth and seeing actually how safe it was. I did an Instagram live because I wanted to tell people, look, it's okay if you had delayed voting in your area and now you can go vote, do it. Of course, you can do mail-in ballots, but I was so impressed with all of the precautions that they've taken.
Well, I will tell you, they're having problems with mail-in ballots too, and there's a lot of controversy around that. And that's the first thing we need to fix. So many people are disenfranchised in this country, and there's a reason, because there are many people who don't want people to vote. And every person 18 and older deserves the right to vote. And that's the first thing we need to fix. And if we can fix that, I think, hopefully we can change. I mean, there's systemic racism in this country that's unacceptable. And, it's a huge problem. It's a big problem. But we, it's something that we can't just bury our heads under the sand and say, well, it'll be fixed. We've gone through this before. Remember Rodney King? And then I got quiet for a while. And remember so-and-so, and I got quiet. No, you cannot do that anymore. And, my husband and I've had long talks about this. And he points out our country was built on a revolution, built on rioting. First, we had the Stamp Act and then the Tea Act. And you think about all the things, unfortunately, violence and rioting and, I don't think looting, but, those things have, we've been built on the basis. And some people feel like that's all they can do to be heard. And it's to be heard. Nobody at the top is listening.
Right.
And that's the problem. And you feel helpless. You absolutely feel helpless. I do what I can. I feel like being a journalist and trying to tell stories that are important is my little tiny contribution that I can do. And I look to people like our mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms, who is just incredible, who has stepped up, and she is one powerful woman. Same thing with Lori Lightfoot, the mayor in Chicago. These women are absolutely brilliant, and they are, and I hope that they can be our voice.
I heard her speech the other day. She was addressing Georgia, and unbelievable. as she was talking as a mother of 4 children, a mother of 4 black children, an 18-year-old son, and she's calling her son and saying, "Where are you today?
Mm-hmm.
Do not go out. Do not." And telling people, rioters, go home. I mean, such power, and such powerful words, I should say, really resonated with me. But so this is a tricky time for everybody. Mm-hmm. Regardless of where you live in the United Kingdom, they're fighting their own battles over there. Mm-hmm. But regardless of where you live, we're all fighting against this terrible virus. And I mean, I just think it heightens everything, but I'm there for the fight. This is a pivotal moment. This is a pivotal moment, I think, in our history, and we got to stand up and we've got to speak out. We have to speak out, and I'm going to. And if that means I lose followers, that's just the way it's going to be, because I'm going to speak out for justice. I'm going to speak out for the right of all citizens to have fair and due process, and to be able to speak their mind, and to be able to live in a fair and democratic society.
And that's why you'll be one of my best friends till I die. I have to tell you, it's so remarkable, though, and I consider myself lucky and privileged in some way to be able to live, to see something like this, to see what, to live through, many generations, every generation has had very, especially earlier generations, hardships. It's interesting to see, how people adapt and how people do come together. And I like to find those good stories. And, you can't ignore the bad stories, but I think also it has to be, acknowledged, right? And I think of all the healthcare workers, the doctors, the nurses, the EMTs, the firefighters, the policemen who are out there every single day during this, and what they're doing to help other people, right? So there is still good. I know right now it is so hard because there are so many horrible, evil things happening, and a lot of that is underlying. But then, you look and see how doctors and nurses around the world, scientists and people coming together and sharing, we've got this test, we're working on this vaccine, we're working on, just, globally how we can all, work together for humanity. And it's remarkable to watch. And I feel like we have a front row seat to history being made in many ways.
I told that to my daughter who, this has been hitting her hard, and she is she's been quite vocal on social media as well. And she's trying to understand all of this, and she wants to make a difference. And right. In her way, she will be able to make a difference. She can't vote yet, but she will be able to make a difference in other ways. I work with the Wonder Dogs, which is down in South Atlanta, where we work with disadvantaged youth. I see firsthand the obstacles and the challenges that they face every single day. And I think that's been really important to be able to experience that as well. But you see, the other thing is that's I stand up for journalists. I stand up for people like you that are putting yourselves out to tell people's stories and to tell the story. And it does you injustice to call you fake news when you and other journalists are putting their lives on the line, going out and telling us the stories. And so I feel that's what makes me angry, and that's what makes me very protective of my best friend, you, Holly, that you are getting attacked by people who actually don't know what they're talking about and need to get out there themselves, maybe, and try and make a difference. So, but you're right. Part of the things that I said to Alex was, my daughter was like, you are living in history right now. You are experiencing a turning point. You're experiencing something that has not been experienced in this country in the way that it has since 1918. And you'll look back on this and go, I lived that. So even though we can get down and it is hard sometimes to pull ourselves out of it, all the good that people are doing and the fact that you're actually witnessing history right now in front of you, I think if we look at it like that, I feel like we can get through it better.
I'll be interested to see how it affects generations like your daughter Alex and my nephew Logan, who is 10, 11. And, I'm hoping that, will we see more doctors in the future, because they know these are our heroes. Superman's great and Spider-Man's great, but these are real life heroes. Will this inspire the younger generations to say, holy smokes, this can happen and I want to be part of a solution? And how they will interact with other people, and how they will, empathize and sympathize, and how they will look at modern medicine. And, it's an interesting time that we're in, and I hope I get to see the beneficial outcome from a lot of this. You always have those bad actors in anything, whether it's, what's going on in our country socially, whether it's what's happening in the medical world. But in a lot of ways, I was so happy and proud to see even downtowns all over the country with the Karens, the Karens against violence, against silence. Silence is violence, right? And, seeing these people who, you would never see these people. I saw, for as many good things, there are bad things again. But, the police chief in Flint, Michigan, who said, I took off my helmet and I put down my batons. Let's not make this a protest. Let's make this a parade. Let's make people see us and hear us, and walked with the citizens of Flint, Michigan. And Flint has gone through so much with their problems, the water, and, their citizens being, sort of trashed on, to put it lightly, by their government. And, I love to see those stories. And I think those stories are as important to be told, because I think that says a whole lot. When you see, an elderly woman who puts a sign in the window and says, it's my birthday and I'm out of beer. And then next thing you know, 6 cases of Bud Light show up at her front doorstep. I mean, freaking brilliant. And I love that. And even though it seems trivial, it shows you people do have the capacity to listen, and people do have the capacity to reach out, because we become such a detached society. We're well connected, but we're so detached with our technological society. And I think this has forced us to rethink the ways that we can reconnect.
And lastly, before we start to talk about dogs, our favorite thing,
exactly.
I'd like to put a shout out there to the police officers that help their communities and put their lives on the line for their communities every day. I had the distinct honor of working with many of them, filming Guardians of the Night, and they accepted me into their world, and I learned a lot. And they're good people. And one of them wrote on a Facebook post, which I thought was amazing. He said, one of the things that good cops hate most is bad cops, or are bad cops. And please don't forget out there, even though you can be angry towards certain police officers, that, and especially this person, this officer who murdered George Floyd, but please don't tarnish all of them, because they're good people. Most of them are good people that are working to keep you safe in your community.
It's like anything. There are bad actors anywhere, and hopefully those are a majority. Same thing, dog trainers. You've got some brilliant dog trainers, and you've got some people who are not good. They do not use the right ways. They use dominance training, and we know how bad that is. So don't judge all dog trainers on those bad apples. And same thing, journalists. There are some journalists who are not great, who do twist things and turn things and make it a personal agenda, but not every journalist. That you can't vilify any group for one or two. And I think that's important. You're right. Absolutely, to remember, because let me tell you, I do think culture needs to change, and I think lots needs to change, but I think there are so many good people out there, and I do appreciate all those good actors.
Well, segueing into your
good actors.
Good actors.
My good actor. And I'll tell you, the best actor, his name is Dr. Terrence Hamilton at Blue Pearl Veterinary Clinic, and I'm just going to call him out because he has saved my dogs.
A quick break here to get in a word from this episode's sponsor, the Victoria Stilwell Academy. Are you looking for a school that can teach you how to be a professional dog trainer? Interested in adding professional dog training services to your pet business? If you've done any research about dog trainer schools, you know that there are a lot of choices these days. Some schools force you to move to where the classes are held for weeks or sometimes even months. Others only teach certain training techniques exclusively, or get bogged down in repetitive drills which work well in the lab but don't always translate to the real world. Some even focus just on games, even for more serious anxiety-based behavior issues, while others employ dangerous and outdated compulsion-based methods that are based on since disproven theories and the use of pain, intimidation, or fear. Renowned dog behavior expert Victoria Stilwell founded the Victoria Stilwell Academy for Dog Training and Behavior as an answer to one of the questions she heard most often following the success of her TV show, It's Me or the Dog. How do I become a professional dog trainer? The Victoria Stilwell Academy is founded on a simple mission: to create new generations of successful positive dog trainers around the world. Its flagship dog trainer course teaches students how to use the latest in behavioral science to help owners and their dogs achieve results through its elite combination of its premium content taught by the best faculty, using the most state-of-the-art technological platforms with the most comprehensive curriculum and the power of the most recent advances in the science of adult learning. No other dog training school offers what VSA can in terms of the flexibility of its hybrid learning models and its refusal to compromise on the commitment to comprehensive excellence. Every dog trainer course student is paired with a personalized faculty advisor to help guide them through the course via weekly video conference office hours. And every minute of the course content is delivered through engaging instructor-led videos and accompanying learning resources. Its flexible length allows students to learn from home at their own pace, and an optional premium add-on track is available for those who want to supplement their learning with in-person intensives, local mentor shadowing, and live webinar-style cyber classes. And rather than just focusing on one training style, dog trainer course students develop a comprehensive toolbox, while pledging to use only force-free positive dog training tools and methods as professionals. VSA also teaches human psychology for effective client interaction, as well as accessible and actionable business marketing and branding, so that students' business can reach their fullest potential. Not to mention, VSA students graduate as certified dog trainers with the prestige of the Victoria Stilwell Academy name and the power of Victoria and the Positively brand at their backs as they launch or expand their dog training businesses around the world. So if you're ready to get serious about having fun, turning your passion into your profession, and changing the world one dog at a time, the Victoria Stilwell Academy is the place for you. Enrollment coordinators are standing by to help you apply or answer any questions you may have. So visit vsdogtrainingacademy.com today and find out how the Victoria Stilwell Academy can help you chase your dreams of becoming a certified professional dog trainer. Again, that's vsdogtrainingacademy.com. vsdogtrainingacademy.com. The Victoria Stilwell Academy, the future of dog training.
Now, tell us a little story. Well, tell us about stories on both of your dogs. Cashmere first was diagnosed, over 5.5 years ago.
About 5.5 years, and I can hear my husband going.
Dog. I just tell people about her.
I will. I could just hear my husband saying, "This is going to be a long story," but I will try and keep it short. So my dog, if I had known that she was going to be so expensive, I always tell people I would have had children, because then at least I'd have someone to pick out my nursing home. But Cashmere, she's already, we're close to $60,000 on her. I will tell you that is expensive. But as you know, this is dogs, animals, dogs, cats, rabbits, lizards. They're not disposable. You don't have a pet for your enjoyment and your entertainment. You have them as part of a family. Just like you wouldn't say to your child, I'm tired of feeding you and doing your laundry. You're out. Let's just send you to a shelter. You don't do that, right? You don't do that with animals. So my dog, she's had both her back knees replaced. Because she had a genetic condition, because she's a pit bull, American bulldog, so they call them bully pit. She's had other issues ongoing over the years, but 5.5 years ago, it was February, and my husband was out of town, and all of a sudden she started acting weird. And to know the signs of pain in a dog is important. And you could tell everybody what the signs of pain are better than I can.
Well, I think one of the big things is restlessness, and the stop eating, shivering, shaking, trembling can be a sign of pain. Pain guarding one particular part of the body, licking, sometimes biting can be a sign of pain. If you touch a certain area of the body, or if you approach a dog that you've touched before and it associates that your touch with pain, those kind of things. So yes, they can be overt, and panting as well is one of them.
And that was like, she was panting and she was shivering and she was drooling. And when I tried to call her inside, she kept wanting to go outside and it was pouring rain and she wanted to sit outside. She was in pain. And so I thought, well, this is weird. So I took her to the emergency vet. And just to let you know, this happened on a Sunday. So it took us until Wednesday. We, back and forth to the vet. The vet kept her overnight. They couldn't tell what was wrong. Finally, they sent us to a specialist and said, they've got better, machines. Something is clearly wrong. So I had dropped her off at the specialist. And literally within 10 minutes, I was driving away. And they called me and said, we did an ultrasound, an extensive ultrasound, and dogs have what the equivalent of an appendix is called a cecum, and her cecum had burst, like an appendix burst. So they said she needs emergency surgery or she won't make it. So I said, absolutely, do what you have to do. So they said, well, look, a lot of times this happens because of cancer, and there could be masses in there, tumors. Just so you know, if we see a lot of tumors and it doesn't look like we can do anything, we're going to have to call you to, let you make the decision. Do you want us to euthanize? Do you want us to close her up and give her pain meds? What do you want to do? So that was like the worst 3 hours of our life, and they said, if you don't hear from us, we're doing surgery. It's going well. So that's truly no news is good news. So thankfully that night, the emergency room doctor, they were able to clean her up. They didn't see any masses. They saw that one mass had burst. And so, she was fine. She spent 3 days in the ICU at the dog hospital. And they tested, and it came back positive for, is it myelosarcoma? Myelosarcoma. I have to, here, it's been so long. I have to, I can't remember. It's basically she has cancer of the soft tissue. Have you heard of that?
Yes, I have, but I'm not a veterinarian. So.
Okay, it's leiomyosarcoma. So it's of the soft tissue. So basically it's around where the stomach is in the intestines and all that. So we did chemo with her, and she reacted really well. And then we would go to the vet every 3 months for a checkup and, fine. Then we moved it to 6 months. Then it was once a year. And we thought, oh, great, the cancer did not spread. Well, after about 2.5 years, she went back for a checkup, and they, were doing ultrasounds, and they said, unfortunately, she now has many small tumors, many small masses. So they said, we can try the chemo again. We did it again. It didn't work. So he said, there is a drug called Palladia. That's a drug. It's a at-home chemo pill, and it's the drug of last choice. And just let me back up and tell you that this cancer has about a year to an 18-month survival rate. So we said, well, let's do it, anything you have to do. And they said, okay, it may give her a year or so, but as soon as those tumors start, okay, well, that's 3 years ago. They can't explain it. The tumors, when they first started doing it, they shrunk 46%. They shrunk a little bit more. They grew a tiny bit. Chemo also can have very negative side effects to the liver and the kidneys, which is why she goes once a month to get blood tests. Her creatinine levels were creeping up there, which meant her kidneys were being affected, and then they came right back down to normal. They keep going up and down to normal. Like the doctor said, I can't explain this. We very rarely see this. She's a miracle dog. 5.5 years later.
Unbelievable.
And I will tell you what I think a lot of it is. I also make her food.
Yes, you do, and that's what I want you to tell people, because you're cooking for her, and tell us that sort of the magic recipe.
Well, we went to a dog nutritionist who looked at what kind of cancer she had, and looked at her weight, and looked at all of her test results, and we give her she gets a combination every meal of pulled pork or chicken, like a healthy protein. She was getting lentils, but as the creatinine levels went up, lentils have more protein than rice, so that's her carb. I do a mixture of vegetables, so I blend together. She usually gets zucchini, squash, red, yellow, orange peppers, and maybe sometimes broccoli, although it can cause gas, we've learned. And then honestly, I believe in a lot of it. Not only is she not really getting any processed foods, but she gets fish oil, curcumin, which is the anti-inflammatory property in turmeric, turkey tail mushroom, which is also another anti-inflammatory, and diseases, cancer is from inflammation. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But they specifically designed a meal plan for her, and she's been eating that ever since she stopped her chemo. When she got out of chemo, we started this food, and sometimes it takes a long time to make it. I'm not going to lie, it takes us a couple hours, and I'll try and make enough for a couple weeks and put it in the freezer. And then when we're done, we just put Totino's pizza in for my husband and I because we're too tired. There have been times when we have no food, and my husband's like, "You want to just eat the dog food?"
The dog's food,
but it's totally fine. So yeah, and I'll tell you, since then, I have started taking curcumin and turmeric pills because I truly believe that it can't hurt you, right? And I'm not advocating any kind of medicine, but I'm just saying it's remarkable.
So curcumin, I'm writing this down. And yeah, I know about the turmeric.
Yeah. Curcumin is the anti-inflammatory property in turmeric.
Yeah. So that's just incredible. It's incredible. She is the most divine dog. And of course, the first time I met her, and the first time I met you, was we actually filmed an episode of It's Me or the Dog with you.
She was not so divine then.
She was a bit of a chewer, and she did like to chew your furniture and your sideboards and your rugs and your everything.
Fair.
And but so that's when I met her. Just a beautiful dog. And then of course there's Barnsley. Now Barnsley, we've spoken a lot about Barnsley throughout these podcasts, and of course he was there. I met him. He was such a young dog when I met him when I filmed with you, which was, gosh, how many years ago? About 13 years ago we filmed with you?
Well, no, it was like 11, 12. Okay. Yeah, because 12 and a half years ago. Yeah. Because Barnes, they were just about a year and a half old.
So Barnsley's still around. He's a special dog. He's a coonhound, but unfortunately he has just been diagnosed with cancer.
Right.
He's 14.
Well, he'll be 14 in July, yes. And she's 12. She'll be 13 in a few months. So, but if you saw them, you would not know they're slow, but so am I. But Kashmir, we don't tell her she has cancer because she doesn't know and she doesn't act like it. People go, "This dog has cancer." I'm like, I know, right? So and let me also tell you that chemo on animals does not affect them like it does humans. Only 10% of animals have the side effects that humans get: hair loss, nausea, fatigue. My dogs, knock on wood, have not had that at all. They don't get side effects like we do. So a lot of people say, "Why would you put your dog through that?" She thinks she's going on a field trip once a month. They give her treats there, and she comes home. And so, yes, so Barnsley, right into the quarantine, a couple weeks into the quarantine, he stopped eating. He was kind of, being kind of wobbly, and he just didn't see him himself. And again, you would not know that these dogs were the age they were. And let me tell you, his breath had gotten really, really bad. I mean, he'd always had some bad breath. He'd had his teeth cleaned a couple times. We just thought maybe this is part of the breed, but it was really visibly, not visibly, but whatever.
It was vociferous.
Yeah, there you go. It was bad. And so he just stopped eating after a couple of days, and he's always been a thin dog, and he lost a lot of weight. I kept saying, something's not right. He seems really, really thin. I called my vet, and my vet said, "You know what? Take him immediately over to Blue Pearl." I think they suspected it was cancer. So they did testing, and sure enough, it turns out he has lymphoma. And it had already spread to the liver and the spleen. Wow. So and he also had an infection in his intestines. So they weren't sure if it had spread to the intestines or not. So they put him on antibiotics. I'm going to tell you what was very interesting is that, and I'm not a vet, so I don't know details of this. I probably should talk to my vet more, but the antibiotics cleared up his bad breath immediately. And even before, for years, he's had bad breath. So I don't know if he's had some kind of bad bacteria and it's just it out. Yeah. But now we can look at him and he can pant and we don't want to pass out. So, we talked to the doctor and they found out what type of lymphoma it was. And he said the type it was really usually reacts well to the chemo. So we decided we would do that with him. We had such great success with Kashmir. Realistically, he's going to be 14, and they say this will extend his life a year to 15 months. But our attitude was, look, if this will give him a good quality of life, and it's not, extending his life just for us, let's try it. So they're doing what's called a Wisconsin protocol with him. He has 16 treatments over 25 weeks, and knock on wood, we had a slight scare because he had a little reaction to one of the chemo drugs they gave him, and it was just the dosage was too high. But after that, he's been fine. And again, you would never know he has cancer. He wants to go for walks. He, And I will
Eating
tell you,
well again, and he's eating like a king.
he gets egg and turkey omelets in the morning. He gets a peanut butter sandwich snack in the afternoon. I give him high quality kibble. I tried Cashmere's food with him, and he liked it at first, but then he's like, he wanted his kibble. And I'm like, you know what? You're going to be 14. That's what you want to eat. That's what you eat. But it's been quite the journey. And I consider myself very, very fortunate that we can afford to do it because it's not cheap. And it's unfortunate that it's so expensive, because I think it would be great if it was more accessible to people, because I'm sure there's people making gut-wrenching decisions all the time about whether or not to let go of their dog because they can't afford the chemo. But they've both done really well on it. It's been a lot of up and down, and I will tell you, it's pushed us to the brink many times financially, but these are living beings, and everything else is stuff. If I have to sell my house and move into an apartment, it's things, it's stuff. It's not a living being. So, knock on wood, we're not there, but I understand, so we've been very lucky in that way. And they seem to be doing great. They're both pains in the asses again. So
they're awesome. They're awesome. Auntie Vicky loves them. If you had any sort of words of advice for people that are going through, their dogs have been diagnosed with cancer, or they're living with their dogs that have cancer, what would your advice be?
I know it's a tough decision to make. And like I said, financially, it's a very tough decision, and it puts people in a very rough situation. And you should not feel guilt if you can't afford it or you can't do it. I think, we as dog parents, or even cat parents, animal parents, we want the best for them. They're our children, and we give them the best life we can. If you do have the extraordinary means to be able to do something like this, I would say just, there's nothing, don't make anyone make you feel bad about it. I've had people say, I can't believe you're spending that kind of money. Why don't you donate that to children or what? And I think, no judging. Yes, these are my children. And if you decide to do that, when people go, I can't believe you're spending that kind of money. Well, look in your closet. How many pairs of shoes do you have? That, I get it. But also too, it's about the quality of life for the dog. And we decided the minute that they were not living their best lives, and we're not keeping them alive for just us. And if the minute that the chemo wouldn't work, or they were having difficulties with it, forget it. It's about making them comfortable and giving them the best life. So, listen to your dog or cat or, pet, and there's also resources. There's a lot of people. You'd be surprised how busy he is. The dog oncologist, he's packed. I have friends who see him with their dogs. So there's communities out there, and there's families. And I definitely recommend nutrition, looking at nutrition, because I do believe the reason Cashmere is a miracle dog, a lot of it has to do with that nutrition. It's also the type of cancer she has. It's a slower growing cancer, unlike Barnsley's lymphoma, which is a faster growing cancer. But I do believe, like 5.5 years, they told me a year to 18 months. So
I think, Holly, you give people hope. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences. I mean, that's why we do these podcasts, is to give people, share our experiences and educate people as well, and tell them, hey, you're not alone. If your dog's got behavior issues, you're not alone. There's help out there. There's support out there. And so we're coming to the end of the podcast, but if you've got any final thoughts, let me know.
Yeah, and I do want to tell people that if they want to email me and ask me questions, use me as a resource, a support system, I would be happy to talk to anybody and everybody. I'm not a vet. I'm not even an animal behaviorist or a trainer, but I would be happy to talk to you about my experience and try and help you find resources, because we've been, going through it. So I believe in our community, right? And so I'm here to help anybody. Just email. If you want to email through Vic's website, I will get them, and I have no problem giving out my personal email as well to help people. So whatever you need, I gotcha. Thank
you, Holly. Oh my God, it's so lovely to have you back again. And now we've done this, we can continue in this and do our weekly podcasts again. We do have some guests and people that would like to come on the show. So, but with Zoom, it's fantastic because we can do it like this. We can be safe, and yet we can do a 3-way conversation and have a guest as well. So, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Are we not going to talk about our chiggers?
Oh.
Maybe next podcast. Should we talk about that on the next podcast? Because I have a lot of questions about chiggers.
Maybe we will, but I am itching so much. Yeah, Holly and I went hiking, and with my daughter, and we all got chiggers. And for those of you who don't know what chiggers are, we're gonna talk about that more next podcast. But I'm telling you, these itch so bad, and they bite and they itch, and we all have them.
To the South.
Yeah, welcome to the South.
I'm a girl from Chicago. I was like, what the hell is happening here?
But we did. We went on a 6.5 mile hike. So, and it was really beautiful. It's what we needed, and it was really beautiful. So
We were safe, social distance, masked, all that, and I feel better, except for the chiggers.
Exactly. Me too. Well, thanks, Holly, and I guess we'll see you next week.
Yes, I look forward to it.
All right, everybody, take care. Thanks so much for joining us with this podcast. You keep safe, keep healthy, and we'll be back next week.
Thanks for tuning in to Victoria Stilwell's Positively Podcast. For more information, visit positively.com. Get connected on Facebook and YouTube as Victoria Stilwell, or follow her on Twitter at Victoria S. Be sure to tune in next time as Victoria helps to change dogs' lives positively.